Inflammation. Man, that's a buzzword right now. We got things that are pro-inflammatory, anti-inflammatory. Every commercial talks about inflammation. So we're going to talk about today, what is inflammation? What are signs and symptoms that you might have increased inflammation? What are things that you can do about it that might help with your overall health or diabetes? We're really going to try to break that down today for you on this edition of the Taking Control of Your Diabetes podcast. I am one of your hosts, Dr. Jeremy Pettus, joined as always by my good friend and colleague,
Dr. Steve Edelman.
And if you're just tuning in, we are both endocrinologists. We both have type 1 diabetes since we were 15. We work at University of California, San Diego. And we work here at Taking Control of Your Diabetes to empower patients through education to do what, Steve?
Take control of their diabetes.
That's a good name for our organization.
Yeah, you know what? Thank you.
So we have a very special guest to talk about this pretty broad topic, but we think we have the perfect person to help guide us through it. So who is that, Steve?
That's Dr. Jennie Luna. And Jennie is an endocrinologist, but with a special interest in obesity medicine, works at Scripps in their obesity clinic, but also nutrition. Mm-hmm. And also she is also an advocate of education and has done a lot of stuff online. And what's your most recent degree, Jennie?
I have a master's in healthcare administration. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so she's going to be running UCSD one of these days, and oh, God knows they need help. Well, and Jennie has done a lot of things with us, and you're very unusual because you know so much about nutrition, but you're also an endocrinologist, and you're not a quote-unquote dietitian, nothing wrong with that, but you do bring in together a lot of science, a lot of medical information, and you have a lot of experience with all those obesity drugs that Jeremy and I just did a podcast on what's going to be coming out in 2026 in regards to the newer agents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So say hello.
So it's great to be here. This is actually my second time here, which is so exciting. And I'm really looking forward to talking about inflammation, because it really is a hot topic and it's confusing as well. So I'm glad that we're going to kind of comb through those details today.
Yeah, and we're talking, we think Jennie was our very first guest on the podcast back when we did it in the old office. So, all right, let's start with the kind of what we need to know. So if you had to, what is inflammation? How would you break that down for people?
Yes. So inflammation actually is a natural response of the body, and it is needed to a certain extent. So there's acute inflammation and then there's chronic inflammation. So acute inflammation is when, let's say, we're fighting the common cold or a sore throat, or there's like a foreign either virus or bacteria that comes into our body. So then this now triggers the immune system. So imagine I always tell patients the immune system is kind of like your internal army. So if it senses something is there, it starts to release these inflammatory cells that start to attack whatever is there. So the symptoms of that would be fever, the sore throat, or if you, for instance, I got bit by a stingray 2 weeks ago. Stung by a.
I don't know, they bite.
No, they don't bite. They sting. Yeah, okay. I got stung.
Your skin turns red and swollen.
Yes, exactly.
Well,
so
hold on. How did this happen?
I was going to surf in the morning, and it's like literally just getting in. I didn't do the shuffle. Yeah. Please do the shuffle, guys. And it stung me. Yeah.
So you stepped on it.
I stepped on it.
Well, the shuffle for you guys that live outside of San Diego is what they teach you when you walk in the sand. You don't pick up your feet. You shuffle. Right. So you can kick these things without stepping on them.
Yeah, or let them know that you're coming. So needless to say, I had a lot of inflammation in my toe. Versus with chronic inflammation, it's different. Now there's a dysregulation in that entire system where it's chronic, meaning it's more than months or even years, and it's now the body is triggered by something else. It could be a condition, it could be the lifestyle of the person, which we'll get into, and then now instead of harming, let's say, something foreign like a bacteria or virus, it's actually harming good tissue in the body.
Yeah. So I think our listeners would know. We all understand if you step on a stingray, you get inflammation, you get a cut, like that kind of thing. But what about, I'm sitting here living my life. How do I know if I'm inflamed?
Right.
I can feel the heat.
Yeah.
The heat coming up.
Yeah, we're going to get into my diet.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
I can feel it coming.
There's no way you're going to get around that, buddy.
But like, what would be signs and symptoms of that?
Right. So it all depends where the inflammation is coming from or what's the source. So some of the symptoms could be like fatigue, difficulty sleeping, changes in the bowel movements, weight gain as well, having like mental fog. So like, for instance, if your blood sugar is high, that then triggers inflammation, and we have some level of insulin resistance, which then feeds the loop again of the high blood sugar. That's going to make you feel kind of run down and not well. Yes.
But I was going to say, Jeremy, I think part of the problem with inflammation is that there are no symptoms. It's chronically ongoing. And I like to bring up the example of periodontal disease. And since the beginning of time, they said, if you have periodontal disease, inflammation of your gums, you have inflammation in your heart.
Yes.
So I don't know how true that is, but they've been saying that a long time. And I think this low level of inflammation affects every organ in our body. I sound like an expert, but that's basically where the danger comes in.
It's true. And it is subclinical, because some people are walking around, they have no idea, the body is like a machine of balance, right? So it just tries to maintain that balance, and you don't really feel it. But sometimes these symptoms are kind of vague. So like that fatigue,
Yeah.
They're pretty
maybe
general.
Yeah, exactly. Because everyone's walking around with fatigue and brain fog.
And a lot of times you'll hear, maybe
Especially in Washington.
people might have symptoms, but they don't realize it. And you hear all the time, like, man, I cut gluten out of my diet, and I didn't even realize how bad I was feeling,
Exactly.
like that kind of stuff. So,
Yes.
all right, we're talking kind of generally. When somebody comes in to see you with diabetes or obesity or whatever it is, how does inflammation fit into that specific patient?
Right. So basically, let's say with someone that has type 2 diabetes, and there's a lot of that insulin resistance, which we hear that like, oh, I'm insulin resistant. Well, what does that mean? So again, those inflammatory cells, they start to affect the communication between the receptor or the key that's supposed to open up the cell to allow that sugar to go in. So basically, insulin can't communicate with the cell appropriately. Then now you have this rise in sugar. You have the liver's like, what the hell's going on?
You can say that. Steve says way worse. I keep it clean. I just came from Sunday school. So
like, what's going on over here? The liver says, and starts to pump more sugar. That in itself then starts triggering more inflammation. It's just like a vicious cycle. And then this is where we see the complications, right? So the macro vascular conditions where, the retinopathy and the kidney issues, because all of that blood sugar and inflammation shouldn't be there. So
And
then...
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Is it fair to say that inflammation is one of the main issues going on with fatty liver or chronic kidney disease? As kind of a platform for all these other conditions we see in the metabolic syndrome. We know inflammation is important with the heart.
Right.
And those three seem to go together, everything we talk about these days.
Right. The metabolic syndrome, where it's, yes, you've got that central weight gain, that increase, cytokines, inflammation, the liver as well, now struggling with that, the muscle, having, extra fat within it, it's also feeding the insulin resistance. So yeah, it's all tied in, interestingly, which is beautiful, because when we help our patients lose weight, it's like all of these things get better.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I was going to ask is like, so okay, if I'm a patient, I come see one of us or whatever, we're going to work on controlling blood sugars. We're going to work on reducing weight, make sure blood pressure and cholesterol and all those things are kind of in line. And if you're doing all those things, do you need like a separate column of like, now I'm going to address inflammation, or have you kind of already taken care of it by addressing those things?
Right. So I love to teach, especially to my patients. So I tell them, if we target your weight, we're going to target everything. So it's like the insulin resistance will improve, their prediabetes will go into remission, or their type 2 diabetes will go into remission. So, and it's not just the scale, is what I also explain. It's metabolic health, right? Body composition as well, which is super important. And in the case of patients that struggle with weight and are living with obesity, the little fat cell is the troublemaker here, because then when it's in excess, it starts to release it on its own, those inflammatory cells that then cause more inflammation in the liver and the rest of the body, making it really hard also for patients to lose weight.
Is there a blood test that you order in your patients to see if they have inflammation?
Yeah, CRP. I love also ordering like the insulin receptor as well, insulin resistant receptor. So yeah, there's ways to check it, but it's also just, once the patient starts losing weight and their blood sugars are improving, their blood pressure is improving, we can tell that inflammation is improving as well.
And then, so, beyond like the medications and these other things that we're already working on, is all weight loss the same, or are there different things that, I guess, lifestyle-wise that people can do that you recommend to everybody?
Right. So, everyone is aware, of course, if we eat healthy, healthful foods, foods that are very colorful naturally, but with high fiber, that also helps with creating what we call short chain fatty acids in the gut. So it's like once the good bacteria start to digest that fiber, it starts to release this anti-inflammatory property that goes to the blood, and it's super beneficial. But then there are these other silent triggers, which is stress. I mean, we live in a very stressful society. People just run on stress and they have no idea that they're so stressed until they go on vacation. And that releases cortisol, which also can trigger that inflammation. Lack of sleep, so important. I mean, not getting those 7 to 8 hours increases insulin resistance, causes hunger hormones like ghrelin to go up, and you're not going to want to have like a quinoa salad. It's like, give me the pizza. So that, and of course smoking and lagoons, yeah, smoking, excessive alcohol, all of these things can definitely flare up the immune system.
So, let's focus on one of those, I guess, maybe with diet, because I think that's probably what people ask you a lot about.
Right.
And that's such a big topic, so how do you tackle that? And what I'm thinking about is that, let's say I see somebody with type 2 diabetes. There's certain things that we focus on that are kind of like more bang for your buck in terms of like improving blood sugars. Like we'll say, everything in moderation, you got to meet with a dietitian, things like that. But you really have to cut out like juice, soda, like don't drink your calories. That's going to spike your blood sugar. Right. So are there things that you target that are like the highest yield?
Yeah. So I also like to teach patients that there are no bad foods. Definitely, yeah, soda, I mean, that's kind of like hard to sell because it's just, it causes the blood sugar to go high and it's not good for anything. But that way there's a little bit more of a balance on like how the patient is approaching the food. I feel like when we say you can't have this, it's like that's like probably the only thing they're going to think about. So it's more of, yes, eating food that came from the earth, food that's like alive and has a purpose in our body, less processed as possible. I always tell patients, eat the most expensive thing on your plate first, which is usually your protein. So like eat your protein, your veg, and then your carb, especially when they're on GLP-1s where halfway through the plate, they're already full. And if they start with like, the carb, the pasta or something, they don't eat the protein and there's an issue. Also, I'm big on having patients do time window eating. I feel like that also helps with inflammation and dropping the insulin level. And it also just kind of gives patients a little bit of structure, right? So they're like, okay, I'm going to eat from 9 to 6. I won't eat past 6. And, but they can drink water or black coffee and things like that. So, yeah.
Intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
What'd you call it? Window?
Time window eating. So
that's a new phrase for me.
Or time restricted eating. We
Yeah.
just did this newsy news segment where I sent you the clip where there was a study that people only eat during a 4-hour window. Yeah. And surprise, surprise, people lost weight and things like that. I'm like, that's ridiculous. Like, like 4 hours is insane. Yeah. But yeah, I could get behind 9 to 6, I think for some people it's easier, just to cut off a time rather than, okay, I need to analyze each food I eat and make a decision. It's just like kind of a hard yes, no. So is that something you practically set up for them? Like, okay, I want how do you do that? Do you have them set alarms? Like, what do you do?
No, we discuss it. It's I'm big on also understanding like how my patient lives their life. No two patients are the same. So, if I have a shift worker, it's going to look very different from, the school teacher. So, and when it's possible for them to do that. So we kind of run through that because it's really important to take those extra minutes, because then they leave the office with that front of mind and they don't have to really think about it. So we work through that, what time window works best. And then I always do have them see the nutritionist, because I feel like there's so many details that we don't pick up. And then just focusing on making it easy. So maybe it's buying some pre-made chicken, or some of our local supermarkets like Trader Joe's has really healthy already lunches and pre-made meals. So that way it's not so cumbersome and they don't have to really think about it. That's the issue when when they're so busy, but then they have to think about what to eat as well.
And, I guess as I'm listening to, I'm starting to think, man, it sounds expensive to eat healthy. Like, how do you respond to that?
It's not actually, it's not, but it is at the same time.
Doesn't have to be.
Yeah. So like, for instance, going and getting like a bag of frozen blueberries, which are actually more nutrient dense because they're cut from the farm and then put in the like frozen. So those are great, to have like a good smoothie, let's say, not packed with like really high sugar fruits. And, there's like Costco, let's say, that sometimes has like really good portions of like chicken and stuff that can be pre-made and, consumed. So it is hard. I mean, I think, prices are definitely going up. And depending on where we're living, it could be quite a challenge. But if you think about it, it's actually more expensive to go to your fast food restaurant, just having that one meal for $1, and then what that's going to do to your body. So it takes a little bit of creativity, but definitely possible.
Okay, well, what is it going to do to your body, fast food?
Yeah.
Because, there's better fast foods than others, but I worry about my good friend Jeremy, who goes to fast food quite a bit.
Not me, your other friend, Jeremy.
Yeah, other guy.
Yeah, my other friend Jeremy. That he's busy. I don't think he cooks very much, and he goes to fast food all the time. And
I'm sitting right here.
And he exposes his kids to the fast food as well.
That's not true. I eat it in the car in shame before I get it.
Oh my God.
Well, I'd say, a flip side of that, a positive way to ask this.
You didn't ask my question.
Well, you didn't have a question. It was just insulting me. So let's say somebody adopts your healthy eating. Like, what are things that you hear when they come back to you? Like, and obviously people are trying to lose weight, but hopefully there's like a whole program there with medications that are helping with that. And just like, let's say their weight didn't change at all, but they adopted this, let's call it better eating habits. What do you see?
Yeah, so often when patients do make the changes, let's say they don't lose weight, but they feel like the pants are looser, like they feel they're losing inches. One of the biggest factors for why people get fast food is lack of time. So, and convenience, that's the main reason. So then it's learning how to tackle that. So then how can we make eating something a little healthier doable? And it doesn't have to be perfect. Maybe it is stopping by, like Chick-fil-A or something and getting a grilled, making a better choce.
That's what I do. I always get the grilled chicken nuggets.
Yeah, you see.
I'm proud of you for that.
Thank you. You just see the bags, but there's probably good stuff in there.
How about the crunchy Cheetos this morning?
Oh, no.
That was different. The blood sugar was a little low and I needed it.
Oh, Cheetos for raising your blood sugar? That's bullshit. You know that.
I was hungry.
Okay.
He's just throwing it out there.
Like orange powder on food is generally good for you, right?
Not really, but...
No, but Jenny, being serious,
Yeah.
When you say people make the changes, I'd like you to get a little more granular. Like what could someone be eating before and then realistically go to that is healthier?
Right. So let's say someone's, which is a common thing, people wake up, have coffee, maybe a baked good. They don't eat anything throughout the entire day. They're busy. Maybe have like a Red Bull or something. And then they come home and they eat all their calories at the end of the day. And then it's like sweets and, maybe they wake up in the middle of the night because they're hungry. So there's like no structure actually even lack of thought of food and like nourishing themselves. So now when they see us, it's more of like, okay, we need to consume protein to help control your hunger hormones. So you wake up, maybe have a protein shake, or maybe have, if they like cottage cheese with some fruit on top, or, a parfait with like Greek yogurt that's really high in protein. And if they do prefer something like cereal, there are better options out there as well, which we can brainstorm about.
What's your take on eggs?
Eggs are great.
See,
yeah.
Steve? This is
Eggs
another
are
thing
great.
that we argue
They have
about
all
the
the
time.
amino acids and vitamins and stuff. So.
He uses the fake eggs and
Egg beaters.
I think hasn't the pendulum swung back on eggs? It used to be like they were bad and
Right.
high cholesterol, and now they got a bad rap, and we can eat eggs again, right?
Yeah, it's also what you put with what you eat with the eggs.
Yeah.
That's
But Jenny, my point is, here he is taking very expensive cholesterol-lowering medications, and he thinks he can eat 5 eggs with his
That's
omelet.
not what it is. The cholesterol medication is
doesn't make any
independent of my
sense.
eggs. Look, I got 4 chickens in my backyard, and they're popping out eggs every day. I got to keep up with these.
You know
guys.
what?
And
But
these
no,
are
but
organic,
seriously,
yeah.
that's a good source of protein,
Right,
or maybe
yes,
some kind
yes.
of breakfast meat, I suppose,
Right,
depending, or something
right.
that can really help sustain you. Because
Right.
we talk about a lot. I think breakfast for people with diabetes, I think, is the toughest because it tends to be
Right.
very high carb. You wake up in the morning. That's usually when you're most insulin resistant. That's usually when your
Right.
blood sugars are high.
Yep.
And guess what? Here comes a bagel or cereal or a muffin. These kind of quick grab and go things
Right.
are really tough.
Right, exactly. So, and then it's also like not knowing what to eat. So they're like, okay, I'm just not going to think about it and eat this. But then when they figure out, okay, well, I could have a cup of Greek yogurt that has 20 grams of protein and it's going to make me feel pretty good throughout the day. And then lunchtime is where, we could maybe consume a little bit more of those carbs because it's the middle of the day. So you have your protein and, if you like rice or, whatever carb it is that you choose, it's good to have it, at the midday. And then dinner would be something where it's like a protein and a veg. So then that way when you go to bed, it's not like your body's still digesting all those carbs.
So the two things that come up a lot, and give us a take on this, is diarying, putting your food into a diary or a diary log. Tell us how effective that is. And the other is like meal prep.
So I'm not big with patients doing a lot of work with like counting calories and like putting, like having a diary where they write everything down, because then it becomes like a homework. Yeah. And my number one goal is that I want it to feel very natural for patients. Like they wake up, they're like, I know what I need to eat. And then they eat it. And then meal prep, that's great if you have time. But, when I have patients that are like single moms with 2 jobs, the weekend comes, they have to like do laundry and do all these other things. So it's not realistic for every patient. Ideally, yeah, that would be cool. Even in ingredient prep where you bake a piece of chicken and then you just cut it and, eat it throughout the week. So it's more of like when you go to the supermarket, you start to think while you're there, like, okay, this is going to be more or less 3 different types of breakfast. It could be oatmeal, or I love overnight chia seed pudding, which is super easy. Like Costco has this huge bag of chia seeds, and you put 3 spoons of that, whichever milk you like, and
do you know what she's talking about?
I have a vague concept of chia
seeds. Yeah, they're delicious and they're very anti-inflammatory.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of the things you've mentioned, like for breakfast, have a lot of carbs in it. Until Jeremy brought up eggs, that's tough for a type 1, because even yogurt. I know there's different types of yogurt and calories, but I find it tough. And this dawned on me when in the olden days, when you're on an airplane, they bring you breakfast. Yes. It's like cold cereal, pancakes,
orange
with
juice,
syrup,
yeah.
orange juice,
a piece of bacon,
yogurt, and some kind of muffin. Like, oh my God,
yeah,
it's just carbs, and and some of the stuff I felt just warmer after eating it, so much inflammation. But this whole thing about inflammation, to me, it's...
Well, can I ask something specific? So honestly, when I do go to fast food, it's usually for lunch, and it's usually because I don't eat breakfast. And it's like kind of this thing that you're describing. So I guess I have a intermittent fasting diet. But then it makes it really difficult to make good choices at lunch when you're like, well, I haven't eaten all day. I deserve it. I'm starving and I got to go here, like whatever. So that's something that comes up a lot with these intermittent fasting diets, is that they may be helpful, but then there is this tendency to overeat. So how do you help people with that?
Yeah, and that's a good point. So it's not, you're you're following that window, but it's not, you didn't really think it through. Yeah. So yeah, if you're hungry at lunch, you're not going to pick anything that's like super healthy. So it's knowing that. So let's say for you, it would probably be a good idea maybe trying the overnight chia seeds. It has a lot of fiber, so I feel like it might not spike your blood sugar as much. And that's an easy thing. You could just prepare it in the night and just leave it in the fridge and have that. Or maybe have some scrambled eggs, with some, what do you like on your scrambled eggs?
Cheese, butter.
I knew he was going to say
the day he takes the chia seeds, I want you to make a video of that.
I'll make some for you.
It's like a pudding.
It's like a pudding. Yeah, it's delicious. Yeah, and it's good for your bowels too.
I'm not on Instagram, but I'm gonna create an account just all about chia seeds and my journey to finding these things.
Yes, absolutely.
Chia seeds.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go for it.
Well, okay, so all right, so the goal of this is we're talking about. Obviously, this is helpful for weight loss and reducing inflammation. Is there anything specific on the horizon that you would say is targeting specific inflammation for a new therapy or anything like that? When I think about anti-inflammatories, I think about Advil, but of course we don't just pop Advil all day because that has side effects and things like that. But is that a area of pharmaceutical exploration?
So interestingly, a lot of the GLP-1s have shown that they have this kind of anti-inflammatory process that happens in the body. So some patients also, I've noticed when they are on a GLP-1, they'll say, I feel less inflamed, they're less achy. Is it because of the weight loss? But actually not really. They start saying that even the first month when they start taking the inflammation. So it'd be, start taking the GLP-1. So it'd be interesting to see long-term what the target is going to be for that. In addition for neurodegenerative conditions as well, which is an inflammatory issue as well. So I feel like that there's a lot in that space.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we know now that these drugs do everything, right? Help blood sugars, help weight, help reduce, issues with your heart, with your kidneys, with your liver. And for some of those things, we don't really know why, why exactly are these drugs affecting the heart or the kidneys? There's a whole lot of theories. It might be a bunch of things, but certainly inflammation is likely playing a role as kind of a unifying force that could explain how one therapy could affect all these different organs.
And if you think about it, a GLP-1 is, makes the body more insulin sensitive. So, and then there's that caloric deficit that consumes those little fat cells. So directly kind of targeting as well as is just because of the way the medication works. So pretty cool.
Well, we don't have a ton of time left, but I did want to say, because you mentioned these other big areas, stress, that's a whole different one, right? How do we get rid of stress? To me, the best thing to get rid of stress is I just pull into McDonald's and get something to eat, and then I feel happy. But
what do you order there?
It depends. I don't want to get into it. I'll shoot you an email.
But people want to hear because you're relating to a lot of our listeners.
It depends on like how good I've been, if I worked out, if I didn't eat, those kinds of things. Honestly, sometimes I'll get chicken nuggets, but if I really feel like I deserve it, a Big Mac is my favorite thing with extra Big Mac sauce.
So there's that reward
aspect.
That reward circuit that gets triggered when we work really hard when we're stressed. There's that desire for dopamine. For some people, it's shopping right here. So for other people, for most people, it is food. But that's what's going on there. Yeah.
Well, and there's the whole other topic. I'm not going to get us off topic of the fast food industry, quote unquote, making the foods more addictive in terms of the taste and the flavor.
Right.
I like McDonald's. I like a Big Mac,
And to be honest, I think there is a piece of nostalgia for me. Not that I long for these days of childhood, but I started eating it when I was a kid, and I think there's almost a comfort food element there too.
Yeah.
But pro tip, I always get it modified with something like extra Big Mac sauce or something, so they have to make it special for me. So it's not just sitting there.
I thought you said no ketchup.
But I did want, stress is a difficult one that we need a whole 3-hour thing to talk about. But what about sleep? Is there any takeaway, pro tips for how to get more sleep, get better sleep, all of that?
So a lot of people are walking around with undiagnosed sleep apnea. It's quite...
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I'm around those people. They really get irritable.
So it's, if you're having difficulty staying asleep, if you're waking up in the middle of the night, and those are, or you're tired throughout the day, I would recommend having a sleep study because it's an easy thing to do if they get referred. But aiming for those 7 to 8 hours of good deep sleep is the way to go.
But isn't it true that people with sleep apnea have a lot more? It's a pro-inflammatory state.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Because
it actually releases. Triggers the immune system.
Inflammation's everywhere. I'm serious.
What about any other like quick tips in terms of watching TV in bed or reading or or
screen time,
blue light, like that stuff.
Right. So when you're going to bed, that's what your bed should be. I was going to say for sleeping and for other things, but mainly, so if you go there, it's for that. So you shouldn't be watching TV in your bed. You shouldn't be using your phone or doom scrolling as well. So it's like getting into those habits are equally as important because if you have that phone there, your brain is super active. You're trying to make yourself fall asleep after that is almost impossible.
So then, obviously people love TV. So the idea is you watch TV out in the TV room and you say, time for bed.
Yes,
and then
absolutely.
You retire to your chambers kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, take a warm bath, kind of make a whole ritual out of it,
Chia seeds.
Yeah, well, no, not before bed.
Do they make chia lotion?
Actually, who knows? It's quite soft.
Well, I would say that I think it's good to talk about this topic specifically because it comes up in all these different areas.
Right.
And if we're realizing that, it goes beyond, getting stung by a stingray. So these are chronic things that you might be doing to your body with these everyday choices of diet and sleeping and, yes, stress, those things. But you can modify some of those and maybe picking 1 or 2 things and, seeing how it goes.
Yeah,
and,
baby steps.
Yeah. And hopefully there's some positive reinforcement there that might be independent of weight loss or whatever. I feel better. I have less mental fog. Waking up in the morning is a little bit easier to get going, things like that. But I think it really is about practical tips and incorporating that into kind of your lifestyle. And we didn't even touch on exercise, how that could be, a great thing
that is
for
the most powerful anti-inflammatory, thing to do, actually. Even walking 10 minutes after you eat is great for your insulin, for the inflammation, for digestion. So I highly recommend that
and
too.
Surfing is great unless you step on a stingray.
Yes, exactly. You have to shuffle, guys. Shuffle.
I mean, you're right, Jeremy. It comes down to just living a healthy lifestyle. Getting to the ideal body weight, eating the foods that are less inflammatory as most as you can, and try to reduce the stress in your life. Don't overdrink and exercise.
Balance.
So you got like 7 things to work on.
Yeah,
buddy.
exactly.
Sorry.
Micro changes. Pick 1 or 2 things at a time.
Well, thanks, Jenny. It's always great having you.
Thank
we'll
you.
have you back again soon. We're not going to wait so long until we move again. But hope everybody enjoyed watching or listening. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow, share. All those kind of metrics really are helpful to keep us going. And Steve, you have one last comment?
I was just going to say that we're going to be doing filming some short reels with Jenny in our TCOID kitchen, giving examples of foods that are good for you and foods that are not. And you mentioned colorful foods. Well, we got a bowl of tricks waiting for you.
That's actually true.
Seriously, it's in there. And we got Wonder Bread, we got yogurt, we got all kinds of great examples. So keep an eye out for her on social, Instagram, Facebook, all that kind of stuff.
Well, thanks again, Jenny. And we'll see you and you'll hear us on the next one.
Yeah, awesome. Bye.